Hello from the Contemporary Resort at Walt Disney World. I am here with the amazing master artist from Disney. This is KevinJohn. Thank you so much for being here with me this morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. You're too kind.
Today I'd like to get to know you a little bit more and find out your path of becoming a Disney master artist. We're so lucky to get to know you a little bit more. Can you tell me how long you've been a Disney master artist?
Sure. This is my 6th year under contract with Disney. My 31st year as a professional artist. So I started my senior year in high school. I was 17 years old and I started selling artwork professionally.
Wow, that's amazing. A very long tenure,
Yeah.
and you've come such a long way. Do you remember your first piece of art that you sold?
I do. It was a commissioned piece of art. I was asked to create a drawing of an office building as a birthday gift to the people that owned the office by his sister.
Oh.
And I created that artwork. It was $35, and it was awesome. That first time you get a check for doing something that you love, it was intoxicating.
Oh,
and
wow.
and right then and there, I knew that it was the only thing that I ever wanted to do with my life.
That's really special. That's great. So who were your mentors growing up, and who did you admire as an artist to help you along your way?
That's a great question. Well, I would be remiss to say in this hallowed ground we're on right now that Walt was definitely an inspiration. His career, his vision, he had all the tools, and for the tools that he didn't have, he found great people to fill those gaps. So Walt has always been a tremendous career template for me, especially in the fact that he never let his failures kill him or stop him. Walt embraced the failures, as do I. I almost relish the failures, because they make me better. It makes you a stronger person on the other side of those if you learn the lessons from those. So Walt Disney definitely. Again, talking about the Disney family, the creativity of a Wooly Crumb, the amazing illustration with such emotion and humor of a Mark Davis, the wonderful texturings of an Alice Davis, where it comes to building the costumes on even a painted figure, and John Hench, the use of color. There's just so many legends that I could name. For many years, for about 25 years, I created sports art for pro athletes and their teams.
Right.
Two of the gentlemen that came before me were Merv Corning and Leroy Neiman. Now, Leroy Neiman, I loved how Leroy marketed himself as a professional artist. So I borrowed some of that. Merv Corning is the style that I've been chasing since I was, 5 years old. I remember seeing the first Merv Corning painting that I saw of O.J. Simpson, and it was right around 73 or 74, so I was, 4, 5, 6 years old, and I've been chasing that style since then. And then I have to give credit for my career in general. My art teacher from high school is the one that I owe my entire career to. I don't have any formal training in art over and above that. McDowell High School. Thank you.
Wow.
McDowell High School in Erie, Pennsylvania. Nancy Bryan is her name. She's well into her 90s now, and she continues to inspire me. She continues to make me a better artist even now, all these many years later. Just an incredible woman who, I'll carry with me forever.
Wow, that's really special. Goodness. So you mentioned that you have done pro sports teams and you've done athletes, and what are some other genres and areas that you enjoy drawing, and now that you've moved on to some Disney, do you miss drawing certain things of that nature?
I kind of because of my contract with Disney and the demands of the amount of art that I have to do, we had pulled back from the sports genre a little bit, but I still kept one kind of foot in the water, so to speak. So I've done a little bit of it, and it's certainly something at KevinJohn Studios that we're looking to do more of in the future. We want to reignite that a little bit, because my heart really lies with sports. I was an athlete, I was a coach. I really, truly enjoy sports, and getting to work with athletes like Terrell Owens or Tom Brady or Ray Lewis, Jerome Bettis, guys that are all now Hall of Famers. Just it's a wonderful opportunity. Other genre, that's interesting you ask. I love pop culture, and so there's a lot of projects that I've done that have been pop culture related. Everything from illustrating actors and actresses to musicians and other sports figures and just other people in pop culture. I did a series of trading cards, sketch cards, for a company called Leaf Trading Cards. We also work with Topps Trading Cards, and those pieces were primarily pop culture and sports. So I love like horror films. I love to do paintings and whatnot based on those. And the interesting thing is with this, with the festival art that I created for Food and Wine this year, we are actually going to be pitching that same program to major food and wine festivals all over the country. I'd like to do that signature art for those major festivals and be there to sign and meet people all over the world, that are there enjoying not only the food and wine, but my art as well.
Right.
So that's something that KevinJohn Studios is going to start pursuing as soon as this festival is over.
Nice, wonderful. That brings me into Food and Wine that just opened a few days ago now for 2018. And did you know that your piece of art was, when you started drawing it, that it would be the signature piece for this year's Food and Wine Festival?
Sort of. I started working on some concepts. I think it goes back 4 years now. Every time that we would walk around Epcot, especially during wine and food, I'm looking at angles and kind of sketching out in my head, or I'd pull out my sketchbook and lay some footage down, so to speak, or maybe take some photos for reference. But it's a lot more difficult than what I thought, because how do you say all that is Epcot's International Food and Wine Festival in one image, right? How do you say that? So after a couple of years of playing with different sketches, I finally came up with a concept that I liked well enough to present to Disney. So I sent it over, and the response was good. They said, yeah, go ahead and keep developing this, needs a few more elements. So about January of this year, I was doing a signing at Festival of the Arts here at Epcot, and I just happened to look out and I saw these 3 gorgeous palm trees, and I said, boy, I said those would fit nice. I fit nicely. So I pulled out my sketchbook and laid down a concept, put those palm trees in. I was like, wow, I got something here. And my girlfriend came over for our little break in between signings. We took a walk, and I caught an angle of the monorail that I love, and I put that in, a little bit of Spaceship Earth, and it just organically just happened. But again, I had been kind of thinking about this for years. So I sent that over to Disney, and they said, yeah, let's go with that. And it's possible that this could be the signature art then. So I went ahead and created the final painting, and when I presented it to them, they said, yeah, that's going to be the signature art for this festival.
Wow, that's so special, and it's so interesting to hear how these ideas come to, and that it's a process of years' time to come up with an idea.
I'm not the most creative artist, and because I don't have any formal education over and above high school, my tools in terms of composition are limited. So it takes me a little longer than it would maybe other artists to find the right composition and the right way to visually explain what we want to, you know. But I embrace that, and I try to get better, adding more depth to my pieces now, and it's all a process, you know. I continue to learn all the time.
Right.
But it is a fascinating process, and it's an honor to be chosen to do that piece. So I'm just.
Well, it's beautiful. Absolutely love it. It's such a great piece, and I'm so excited to see it all around the parks. How does that make you feel when you see it during the festival, and does it excite you? And
it never gets old. We live about an hour and 15 minutes here from property from Disney. We live on the East Coast on Little Barrier Island, and so we get into the parks, unless it's a gig, we get into the parks here about once a month. You know, and we'll inevitably walk into one of the galleries or one of the gift shops to carry my art, and it still hits me, you know. I am.
Pinch me, this is real.
Yeah. I am the custodian of the attractions that not only Walt created, but all these amazing Imagineers and Disney legends and artists that came before me have created for us to enjoy here. I'm the custodian to create these on canvas and pay homage to them in that fashion, so that fans can and Disney lovers can take that stuff home and have those pieces of the park with them in their homes. And I think that's an interesting point also to touch on. You know, I'm not an animator and I'm not a character artist. There are amazing character artists and animators that do a fantastic job for Disney. My lane is to really concentrate on the park elements, you know, both here and at Disneyland, and that's really where I live. You know, that's where my Disney soul is. That's where it is, even more so than the films. You know, I feel Walt breathing when I'm in the parks. You know, you go past an attraction, you know, like Carousel of Progress, you know, where Walt worked on, where Walt directed, and you know, you just feel his spirit, and it is something that floors me every time. You know, it's nothing. I'll be doing this for the rest of my life, and I don't think there'll ever come a time where I take it for granted.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. It's great. Always good to have the gratitude, and you can tell that you're very humble.
For sure. You have to. I always say I'm still the kid in the back of the class that colors with crayons, you know? And I like to keep that perspective, because I've been given this talent, and I've been given this platform, and I've been given this opportunity to meet so many wonderful people like you guys and all the folks that come here to visit, and it's never lost on me what a tremendous honor it is to be able to do that. So it's always in the forefront of my mind, and the day that someone says that I've stopped being humble or appreciative is the day that I think I should pack it up and go away forever. You know? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So before you worked for Disney, were you an annual pass holder? Would you frequent the parks often?
Yes. I visited Disneyland as a child a couple of times. I was 8, 9, and 10 years old, and caught the bug then. However, I wasn't here. I didn't visit Disney World until 1998. Just economics and but when I was finally able to come here in '98. I absolutely fell in love. I became an annual pass holder right away.
So you're a Disney enthusiast.
Oh, incredibly big Disney enthusiast. Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah, sure.
Have you been to Food and Wine Festival many times before, prior?
Yeah, that was, we came in October of '98, our first time. So the Food and Wine was kind of still in its infancy then. It's certainly not the grand affair that it is now, but it was still a very charming addition to what is already an incredible park as Epcot is. And it was just that much special. It's having your favorite piece of cake with that dollop of Cool Whip on top. Festival of the Arts, the Flower and Garden Festival, the Food and Wine Festival. Those are all dollops on an already amazing piece of cake. So I loved Food and Wine from the beginning. Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. Can you tell us a little bit about when you got the call from Disney?
Yeah.
When Disney calls, that's a line that it gives me goosebumps.
It's one of those things that just was not on the radar. My sports art was doing really well. We had just moved to Florida from Pennsylvania. This is going back 6 years ago. And we moved here for the climate, to be closer to the parks, and to live on the ocean. I always wanted to live on the ocean, and my house is 300 yards from the water. And we just love it here. And we were doing our thing, and KevinJohn Studios was sailing along, and we got a call that the folks here at Disney wanted to talk with me about creating art for them. And the story is kind of funny now when you look at it, because I was so very busy, and things were going so well with our main concentration of sports art,
right,
that I kind of ignored the calls and the emails for a while. And it was because
you ignored Disney.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Well, the thing was, Alana, I love sports.
Right.
And then I worked in sports. So I ruined my favorite playground by working in sports. Every time I went to an event, I was looking at it as, okay, we got to talk to this athlete. I want to make sure I get with this agent. I want to make sure I call that owner back. It was a constant working process. Or if I'm watching a game on television and, one of the athletes that I worked with goes down with an injury, it's like, oh my gosh, it's horrible. You'd establish friendships and everything.
Right.
So I ended up working where I played. And to a certain extent that tarnished it for me.
I understand.
So when we moved here, it was working for Disney. First of all, I never thought I was ever good enough. So I had packed that away a long time ago, especially because I wasn't a character animator, and then, so it just wasn't on the radar. They called, I'm in my own lane, I'm doing my own thing, and I run my own company. What I didn't want to do is become someone else's employee, even at Disney,
Right.
I had too much responsibility to my own brand, and I wasn't a character animator, and I'm not a character artist, so I didn't see the fit, So it was one of those things where I just kind of, put it aside, and a couple other emails and calls came, and my girlfriend said, what, just take the meeting, what could it hurt to take the meeting? So I took the meeting, and I understood immediately, what they wanted from me was my stylized realism that I work in. I also work in watercolor that very few people work in. Watercolor is extremely difficult to work in because it's like herding cats, especially in a very detailed style like I work in. It's a non-traditional watercolor style. Watercolor is often, I'll explain it, wet on wet. You're wetting a paper or your watercolor surface, and then you're painting with water and pigment, and it's very very fluid and very misty. Where my watercolor style is extremely tight, it takes a lot longer to paint in my style. So they liked that style. They also liked the fact that I could paint humans really well. That's something that not a lot of people can do. It was just something different that I brought to the table, as well as this brand of KevinJohn art that I had built up over 25 years. I always say, if you sell enough art out there, Disney's going to want a piece of it, And so they tasked me with the honor of focusing on the park elements in my artwork. So I got it immediately. No, I didn't have to become an employee.
Right.
I could work in my home studio, create this art, come here for signings and special events and unveilings and presentations and things like that, and autograph signings and just treat the guests with that magic that we all expect when we're here.
Right.
So it was at that point, I had given myself over, and I said, yeah, this now I get it, now I understand. It was probably one of the best days of my life, really. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that's really amazing. And not many people know this, but you're actually colorblind. So the way that you work with the watercolors and doing these paintings is so impressive because you've coined it your KevinJohn Purple.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. I've only been painting since 2004. Prior to that, all of my work was in black and white, and it was all illustration. Because I'm not completely colorblind, but I'm color sensitive, as we would say. Where what a lot of folks don't understand that don't paint is, for instance, if you have on a gray T-shirt, you just don't squeeze out a tube of gray and swash it on the canvas, and it looks like a shirt. It may be in the shape of the shirt,
Right.
but all of these ripples and wrinkles and everything, they're all created by different color, by lighter pink hues, lighter purple hues, darker browns in there, or whatever. I can't see those shades, those halftones. It's very difficult for me to see those, so I had to really teach myself
Right.
how to work in color. Along the way, you kind of establish your own toolbox, so to speak. And one of my favorite weapons in my toolbox is a color that I mixed myself, called what we now call KevinJohn Purple, and it's essentially this purple. It is often the base and foundation of all of my paintings. All of my paintings contain it, but even my portraiture, when you walk into my studio on day one when I'm working on a portrait, it's all laid out in purples. It's just, I find it works with my eyes better. It gives me a good foundation to build on, and it's become quite a popular little thing that people will try and find the KevinJohn Purple in those paintings.
That's
Yeah.
amazing, and you're always learning, and that is something that is, I find so incredible that you've developed your skill and taught yourself. Despite having somewhat of a challenge with it, you're so talented.
I always like to try and talk to young artists about that, and young artists will always say to me, I hate my art. I don't want to show my art. I'm never happy with a piece after it's done. I got news for you. I'm 50 years old in February this coming, and I'm never happy with any piece of art that I create about 3 weeks after I create it. I may love it when I put that final stroke. However, if you're working at it, and if you're always trying to improve your art, you're gonna despise that piece that you just did, that you were just in love with, because you always progress. You want to get better, and so I always like to share that with young artists. That don't be frustrated about that. That's good. It's good that you're not happy with your art. It will push you. It'll make you a better artist. Not showing your art is something I could never understand. The only reason why I'm doing this, the only reason why I got that first commission when I was 17 years old, is because I showed everyone I knew my art. Everyone, I went to school with I graduated with 700 other kids, and everyone in that class, all the teachers, all the faculty, everyone knew that I was an artist, because I made sure that everyone knew that I was an artist.
Right.
And I showed my art, I was proud of it, and I encourage young artists to not only love their art, but also love themselves. This is, I always describe it as it's a blessing and a curse to have this talent. And I don't care if that means you're an artist, musician, an actor, an actress, a writer, an athlete, a chef, a painter, whatever. any of those natural gifts, it can often be a heavy weight to carry. However, embrace that and love it, and be proud of it. And in turn, I think you'll love yourself and be proud of yourself and who you are. That individuality that comes with being an artist is something that I think the world needs more of. We don't need more shades of gray.
Right.
We need a rainbow, and us artists are oftentimes the people that fly with the most color, you know, and a lot of people don't like that. They fear it. I think there's a certain segment of people out there that that are afraid of the colors. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Show your love and your kindness and your love for yourself through those colors, and you'll bring them around.
Perfect. Yeah. I think those are really great messages and talking points, no matter what your craft is, because you are always, whether you have a little bit of perfectionist in you, you're always constantly developing and improving, and not being so hard on yourself, and giving yourself the credit for where you've been and where you're going, and moving forward, and looking at your art and knowing that it's evolving and improving. And I think that's a really important message. So wonderful, great messages to teach young artists, no matter your field. If you're not an artist, there's life lessons to be held right there. And I know with sports, you've learned some great lessons that come into art as well, and you give back and teach. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Well, one of the best decisions in my life was to pursue sports as an athlete in high school. I played football, and those lessons that I was taught there on that football field, on the practice field, in all of those grueling sessions, were lessons that I directly carry over to my career. It's also lessons that I pass along to not only the athletes that I coached, however, also the artists that I talk to, or when I go and talk to schools. I mean, I talk to full schools of children who are not only artists, but they're all different types of interested kids in different things. And I heard an interesting story this morning. There was just a high school football team that kicked off the season Friday night, and they lost their opening game 102 to nothing. They really got it handed to them.
Wow.
And the coach and the administration has already made the decision that they're no longer playing this season. That they're hanging up the helmets, so to speak.
Wow.
And I thought, what a tremendous disservice to those kids.
The lesson that it's teaching them.
The wins and losses, they don't matter as much as being in the game and effort. I am not the most talented artist. I'm not the most creative. However, I never give up, and I outwork most of my peers. And that's not to say that my peers don't work hard, but my peers, I'm saying in general, people that I know, not only artists, I work extremely hard and have for 31 or more years to get to this point. There have been failures and losses along the way that would cripple me, devastate me. But from what I learned in sports, is that you give yourself 24 hours.
Right.
I'll cry, I'll yell, I'll scream, I'll be bummed out, I'll eat donuts for 24 hours. I give myself a day. But that next morning, I get up and I hit it twice as hard as I did the day before. Because obviously I wasn't good enough. So I have to get better. And winning comes, losses come, but longevity and how how hard you work and how long you're willing to withstand and stay in the game, I think doesn't matter what you're doing in life. I think that's the real lesson that I like to send across to kids. If I was that coach, I would have told those kids at halftime, it's 55-0. It can't get much worse. Let's just go have some fun.
Right.
Let's go out there and enjoy this game for what it is. Let's run around. Let's make some tackles. Let's scream and yell. Let's laugh. Let's have fun. And then you carry on that through the entire season. When I started coaching, I took over a grade school football team that hadn't had a winning season in 10 years. They hadn't won a game in 5.
Wow.
My first season, we won 1 game out of 7. 1 game. Those kids now are young gentlemen of 30, 35 years old. And when we get back together again, they're like my kids, you know? When we get back together again, the losses are never talked about.
Of course.
The wins are never talked about. What's talked about is the fact that we did it together.
Right.
And we hung in there, and we strapped it up every Saturday, every Sunday, or every Friday night, and we went in there and played and gave it our all, whether from a coach's standpoint or the player standpoint. And they come back to me and they say, those lessons, Kev, you know, those things that you taught us, Coach, those have made us into the people that we are. And I only know that because I was blessed with having amazing coaches and teachers and that gave those lessons to me. So I think that that's such an important thing, that failure is good. It's good to fail because you can make yourself stronger and get on the other side of that thing. And eventually, if you work hard enough and you do the right things, you're going to win. And those wins are so good then. They're twice as sweet. Anyone can have massive talent and be a Beyonce. I mean, this is a person that has or a Michael Jackson or a Walt Disney.
Right.
All of the talent the world can possibly put on someone. All the gifts. But yet they fail. But yet they fail. It's what makes them great is that they continue to pursue their art. It's just that's where greatness lies, I think. Yeah.
Some perfect life lessons right there for you guys. That's deep information. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. You know, 25 years ago, as a young man of almost 25 years old, and you know, I would talk about these same things, but you know, it's funny you see the teachers in the back of the class going, you know, that's a nice message, but he's 25 years old. What the heck does he know about it? So at this age, I think that there's a little bit of credibility that comes along with it. So it's, yeah. So,
perfect.
Yeah.
So KevinJohn, I'd love to hear what's in the future for you and what can we see on the horizons for your art.
Sure. Well, let's talk immediately about the signings that we have and the signing events going on
for the
right
next
now.
Couple weeks with
yeah,
Food and
right
Wine.
now through Food and Wine. So I think I have, probably 15 or 16 different days throughout Food and Wine that I'll be signing all of my art for people that want to come. We do photos and I do autograph cards for them and everything, and we have some fun and do video shout outs and stuff like that. So those dates, individual dates, if you want to come out and meet me, because I'm always so incredibly honored anytime someone wants to hang a piece of my art in their home. I mean, I always look at it this way. You know, people save years to buy their home. They pay a massive amount of money to own these places, to rent. Wherever they're living, that is where they create their memories with their families, and it's where they relax and find solitude and live within their comfort zone. It's their cave, you know. It's their place to go where no one else can penetrate. And the fact that they give me real estate in those homes, they give my art a place to live, and it makes them happy, is an honor that I'll never be able to repay. So when I do these signings, it's not about KevinJohn. It's not about come and get my autograph. It's about me having the opportunity to thank these people personally for being so good to me, for giving me a career for 31 years, for the honor of collecting my art. So come out and see me and get some new stuff. Of course, you know, I got to pay the bills, so get some new stuff. That piece that you bought in '87, put it in the closet, replace it with a new thing. But seriously, come out and let's just have some fun. It's a little celebration, you know. Let's take some photos and have some fun. That being said, those dates for my signings for the Epcot International Food and Wine Festival can be found on my website under the events. I'll put the link
down in below in the description box so you can check out his website and all of his socials. So you can check out the rest of Food and Wine and make sure you come see him and to the signings and say hello.
And it's a great place to stay in contact with KevinJohn Studios. You know, register for the email. You can link to my social medias, especially Facebook, through my website. It's kevinjohn.com, kevin-john.com. I'm very active on social, especially Facebook. We do Fan Reward Wednesdays, so oftentimes on Wednesdays we give stuff away. We do special event sales. We do special exclusive pieces that are only available there. You know, I have non-Disney art, I have sports, all kinds of stuff. We're always having fun. It's a really wonderful community, but you can also watch and see me develop my Disney art or any of the other projects that I'm working on right there, oftentimes live. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful interaction. But you'll also be able to follow on the upcoming projects and releases and event dates. Like right now, we are in the final stages of designing the first KevinJohn women's handbag. And it's going to be a limited edition. There's only going to be like 12 or 15 of these ones. So, I mean, it's going to be a bonanza when they come out. So you want to be there to make sure that you're one of the first so that you're able to get one of these. So there's all kinds of good stuff going on. So, yeah, link up and follow there. Moving forward, I guess, you know, very soon, the Festival of the Arts is going to roll around in January and February. I'll be releasing 3 new pieces for Disney.
I'm so excited for that.
Thank you. I can't wait. They're going to be insanely cool. And then there's a lot of interesting things on the horizon where I'll be creating some art for another gigantic, massive intellectual property holder that I've been working towards since I was in 3rd grade in 1977. So I'll let you do the math on that and kind of wonder what that art's going to be. But that art will premiere this spring, and it's going to be a force of nature, to say the least.
My goodness. Well, you've heard it from the man himself. I'm so excited to see what's on the horizon and the future holds for you. That is so exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time and letting us pick your brain about your fabulous art and your journey and path and where you've come. Again, don't forget to check out in the description box down below all of KevinJohn's socials, his website, and so you can be a Kevin J Insider yourself. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you, Kevin, for your time this morning.
Thank you, Alana. This has been wonderful, and just thanks for giving me some time. I mean, this is, again, I'm honored.
Oh, thank you. Until next time, folks. Thank you.